Hello, y'all. I have one for you. It is called The House of Dreams. It's kind of a ghost story type deal. I hope you enjoy it. So, The House of Dreams. It was only a dream, wasn't it? Or was it? It seemed so real. Yeah, it could not be. I think back on it. Such pain hits my heart. Yes, I'd been afraid. Terrified, actually. But more so for the people involved. Did they not realize what their actions had caused? Did they not realize that decades later, the part they played would still be alive? Over and over, the scene would play, and the tragedy would never end. We had rented the house in good faith. It was an old southern house. Needed a little cleaning. That's what we thought anyway. But boy, were we wrong. There's more to it than that. So much more. Two-story wraparound porch, farmhouse type deal. There was a whole lot of land with it. I'd not spent much time exploring the land yet. The repairs had been more than we thought. We knew the house was more important than the land at the moment. My husband was busy working on the electrical outlets. We did have electricity, but only a few outlets worked. There were too many on one circuit, and one by one they cut out. Frustration got to him, and he knocked a hole in the wall. It was not a big hole, and after he calmed down, he got frustrated again. There was one more thing he would have to repair. I sat down on the floor beside him, and as we were talking about maybe taking on more than we bargained for, I happened to glance at the hole. No, that could not be right. Another room? Come to think of it, the house did look bigger on the outside than the inside. That room had been blocked off. I could not see too much, and it was kind of dark. But he could not keep tearing the wall down to find out. He probably would not anyway. I did not say anything to him about it, but I knew there had to be some way in. No, you do not want to do this. That was just my mind being silly. Of course I wanted to do this. Let's say curiosity killed the cat, but I'm not a cat. Yeah, but a cat has 9 lives too. I do not. I stood, told him I was going to make some tea, and walked into the hall. The light was dim, so it's hard to see any cracks, dents, holes, or anything that would lead to a hidden room. I ran my hands along the wall, thinking of all the dirt and germs I was getting on my skin. I shivered, then let out a big ouch. I'd forgotten about splinters. The kitchen was ahead. I would have to forget my mission for the moment while I removed this horrible piece of pain from my finger. I figured I should put some tea on since I told my husband that's what I would do. Then it caught my eye. The corner where I turned from the hall into the kitchen was trimmed with a piece of paneling. There was no paneling anywhere else. It was just an old wooden house with painted walls. Forgotten was the tea, forgotten was the splinter. I took a hammer and pried the strip of paneling from the wall. This was it. It had to be. Are you sure you want to do this? Oh, quieten down. Yes, I'm sure. My mind was going to war with itself. There was no backing down now. There was a flashlight on the kitchen table, and I checked the batteries. They shone brightly, but just in case, I rummaged in this and that drawer for more. I definitely needed light in there. Okay, here goes. I took a case knife and tried to pull the wall loose. It was not happening. No, this was the way in. It had to be. I looked around for something to push or pull. Maybe it was a secret entrance or something. You know, these houses are full of them, the old ones anyway. Frustrated, I banged my head against the wall, and my eyes happened to see the old hutch, as close to the wall as it could possibly be. Eureka! I struck gold. Put my hand over my mouth, even though it was too late to silence the words. Honey, is everything all right? Jeff hollered from the other room. Did you burn yourself? Everything is fine, dear. Then I remembered the tea. I poured some boiling water in a cup, threw in a tea bag, a touch of honey, and stirred it as I took it to him. Where's yours? I thought we could go onto the porch and drink it together, maybe relax a little bit. Oh, honey, I am so sorry. I have a mess in the kitchen that I must take care of. You go ahead. Well, since you're busy, I might as well go to the store and grab a few things. A quick kiss on the cheek, a goodbye, and I love you. We parted company. I watched through the windows the truck left. Ah, now I can get down to business. I tried pulling the old hutch back, but it would not move. I tried moving it from side to side, but still would not move. It was nailed to the floor. Darn these interruptions. The hammer would not go under there, but a pry bar would. We had one somewhere. I thought for a minute. Yes, it was in the bedroom. One of the windows was stuck, and Jeff had used it to pry it open. Running up the flight of stairs, I realized I should be more careful. All I needed was to fall through. But I did not. I made it up and down safely. Okay, here goes. Yes, it worked. Took a lot of sweat, a lot of strength, but I managed to get one side loose. Maybe I just needed that one side. I tried to push and pull again. No such luck. A person would think they did not want this hutch moved. Fighting through the dust, cobwebs, and endless spiders that made their home there over many years, I managed to pry the other side loose. I saw it. It was there, and it was real. Behind the hutch was the entrance to a secret room. The piece of paneling had covered the back side of the door. I felt the excitement build, but there was also a touch of fear. What was I getting myself into? Maybe I should just, I knew I could not forget about it. Here goes. There was total darkness. I shined the light and almost gagged. The smell was like anything I'd ever smelled before. The room was covered in a black tar-like substance. It was dry and dusty, but the corners of the room had a thick layer. Were they trying to keep something out or trying to keep it in? Other than that, the room was empty. I shone the light toward a huge patch of tar, and something caught my eye. I slowly walked toward the object. A key. It was stuck in the tar. I pulled and pulled, but evidently it had dried as the tar dried. I should have brought the pry bar. Shrugging my shoulders, I knew I had to go back and get it. I pushed against the door. No, let me out! The door would not budge. I pushed and even kicked a time or two, but it still would not budge. It was as if the hutch had been nailed in front of it again. There had to be another way out of here. I went back to the key and started pulling again. I did not know what good it would do because there was nothing to use the key on. I almost screamed in terror. Maybe I was too scared to scream, or maybe I was just in shock. I loosened the key more than I realized when I saw skeletal fingers holding it. I backed away. Someone was buried in that tar. Was someone buried in every corner? Tears seeped down my face. I should have listened to my mind and let this go, but it was too late now. I just kept backing until I hit the wall. I hit with such force that the wall caved in, and me with it. Another room. There were people in there. Not real people. Well, yes, at one time, but now ghosts. There was plastic wrapped around one corner from ceiling to wall. I could make out shadows, though. A bed. There was someone moving in it. He will not last much longer. She was dressed as a nurse. What was left of her outfit led me to believe it anyway. Strips of cloth on a skeletal frame. She had a clipboard in her hand. It was covered in mold and dust, paper long since dulled with age. The woman with her had a wedding band on her finger. It had cut into the bone. The room was covered in mold, dust, the putrid smell of death. I needed to see behind the plastic, but fear held me in the spot I was in. I gradually stood from the floor, ignoring the blood from the scrapes and cuts. I can see you. That cracked, childish voice came from the bed. I could barely make out his words. He was dead. He had to be. But I needed to know. I moved. The nurse and the woman were still here. They did not know. How could he? You can never leave now. What harsh maniacal laughter came from his throat. Pure evil. He was evil. I knew it when I saw him. He was dead, but he was not skeletal like the others. He lay on a rusted hospital bed, sheets and blankets, thin strips of dry blood, and other bodily fluids. What had happened that they had imprisoned these people in this room? The chart the nurse held showed only a few faded words that I could make out. Typhoid, lunacy, madness. So how was it that they died and he survived? Well, not actually survived, or had he? Come closer, I am hungry. There was a book on the floor, and I picked it up. It was a heavy book. Healings and Spells That Really Work. That was the name of the book. I'm sure it'd not kill him if I hit him with it, but maybe stall so I could what? The other door was broken down, and I could not find another way. Then I saw it. Another door, but I needed a key. The key that was buried in the tar. To my thinking, they were locked in here, and the lady outside held the key. They buried her in the tar so she would not be tempted to open the door, or they could not take it from her to escape. Whatever he had must have been contagious, or something they did not want anyone else to know about. Maybe both. He moved. I could hear him try to get up. I had to figure a way out because I knew there would be no rescue. No one knew I was here. Everything had been put back in place. I had to rely on myself. Please, just one bite, and I will help you escape. Suddenly his speech had cleared. He was talking normally. Please do not make this hard on me. I have not eaten in a long time. What year is it anyway? It is 2020. What was I doing? I was talking to an evil ghost, or whatever he was, encouraging him. Oh my, I've been in here since 1890. Has the house actually stood that long? No, I remember hearing people building once. Had they built around me? Had they actually left me alone for so long? Oh, the curses, I knew it. That witch that said she was here to heal me cursed me instead. How old were you? I could not believe I was having a conversation with this child ghost or whatever it was. Then I realized he had distracted me. Somehow he had gotten out of that bed. He was closing in on me. He had no legs nor hands, but his arms were long, strong, and mighty powerful. 10, I think. I caught a disease. My mom there caught it too. Nurse did. Not knowing death would come with the knowledge. You see, my pop was not really my pop. He found out. He did not like the idea of shame brought on by a halfling. Yeah, I was born like this. The room has been my life. Then the experiments. Oh dear, be a good girl. Help me back to bed, please. He flopped over on his back as if tired, but I could see the gleam of evil in his eyes. If I picked him up, those teeth would cut me to ribbons. It was then that I remembered the bandana in my pocket. Put the book down, I jerked out the bandana, quickly put it around his mouth, tying it tightly. Eventually he would chew through, but for now, I was safe, and he had shut up for a while. I had an idea. I did not know if it worked, but I had to try. Excuse me. After putting him back to bed, I pulled up the bed rail. It creaked, and at first did not want to move, but eventually I raised it. From the bottom part of the bed hung a loose piece of metal. I twisted and pulled it till it came loose. Then I headed back to the previous room. I was determined to pry that key loose. My hands were bloody now, and I could hear the boy again. He had chewed through the bandana. He was cursing me with every breath since I put the bed rail up. It did not matter now, because I rescued the key. It took a lot of strength to make that key work. It was the right key. It had to be. It was just that the lock was old and rusty. It did not want to work, but I was determined. The lock clicked, and I felt a deep relief. Maybe now my nightmare was over. It was not. A garage. A huge car was covered by a tarp. I did not uncover it to look. I could see part of the front end, rusty blue paint chips flaking. I did not want to see if anything was in the car. I did not want to explore anymore. I just wanted out of this garage and out of this house. The windows were boarded up, and the garage had been boarded from the inside as well. I sat on the dirty cement floor and let the tears fall. I was bloody, battered, and a total mess. I should have listened to the part of my mind that said, leave it alone. It was too late for regrets, though. Then the batteries in my flashlight died. I was glad I'd brought spare ones. I put them in and happened to shine them on of all things, a pry bar. Maybe there was hope after all. I crawled on my knees and reached under the shelf to retrieve it. I did not worry about spiders or snakes or any other creepy crawlies. I just wanted out. Where should I start? I was thankful that I started in the right place. I pulled the boards off a window. No, I screamed. Boards were blocking the other side. No, no, no. I was shouting as I beat the boards with the crowbar. Suddenly the wall on the other side broke free. A tunnel. I was in an underground tunnel. I began to run and run and run. It had to end, right? It just had to. Finally it did. If I had not stopped when I did, I would have fallen 50 feet to the rocks below where the massive waves moved quickly. Looking at the wall of dirt that held the tunnel, I did not see any handholds nor foothold to guide my exit. At least I had air and light. I sat down to think. A chill wind began to blow. It was fierce, signaling the storm to come. I wonder. It was the only way, the only thing I could think of. I took my dress off and used it as a parachute. I tried to guide it away from the rocks. It hit the water and hit hard, but I lost consciousness and the waves pulled me away. I thought at least it would not be painful. I did not hit the rocks. I could hear them. Barely, but I could hear them calling my name. I peeked through one eye and thanked God that the water left me on the shore. Help was coming. I just lay there with my eyes closed. I felt him hoist me in a basket and bring me to the top of the cliff. I had no idea where I was. The ambulance ride to the hospital was bumpy, but I managed to hold on. I tried to tell them about the house. They needed to know. They needed to bury them and do something with the boy to give them peace. A padded room? That strapped me down? Why? Do not worry, doctor. She will not escape again. What was she talking about? Just make sure she does not. She created havoc on this floor. Little Jeff was crying like a baby. He's terrified and can do nothing about it. No, you do not understand. There's bodies buried in that house. They've been there over 100 years. I tried to move, but the straps were too tight. Come now, they were not there that long. We brought you here the night you went on that killing spree. He paused and continued as if talking to a child. You killed the nurse that was looking after you, then your husband, and set the house on fire. When? When did this happen? You've been in here 10 years. Housekeeper's son had a disease. It spread and you caught it. Instead of taking you to the hospital, they're trying to cure you at home. The madness hit. No, I did not do it. I escaped from them. They were already dead. They had them locked in a room. Hush, my child. When you calm down, we will take you back to your room. Everything will be all right. Would it? Now I was more confused than ever. Had that all been a delusion? Had I been overcome by madness? Maybe they were right. My body and clothes were not wet, and I did not remember them changing me. No, I remember them sticking a needle in me. Maybe they might knock me out. Did it then? I looked around the room as far as my head could turn. On the nightstand was a book. I could only make out a few words because my vision was blurring. Healing spells. That was it. That was part of the title of that book that had been there. They got the book and brought it here. Why? If they wanted to convince me, they could not do it that way. They said something about taking me to my room. So if this is not my room, why is that book in here? Someday I would escape and prove to them that what really went on in that house. That all happened before I even existed. I must have slept. When I woke up, darkness had crept in. I was in a hospital bed. The rails were up, and a nurse and a woman were standing there talking. No, it cannot be. I was the one in bed being guarded in the locked room. There was a plastic curtain surrounding me. It was in the same room. It had been me? A dream? A nightmare? I no longer knew real from fantasy. I was an experiment. Cynthia Clark. I do hope y'all enjoy that. That was a little imaginative, I guess. Y'all have a great night. See you later. Bye bye.